Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the March monthly meeting of the RES. A few things to talk about tonight. First, let's have a look at COVID. The country's still having 15, 17, 20,000 cases a day. So at the moment, we're sort of like an aircraft in the holding pattern. We can't do anything until this goes away. Hopefully it'll start, we have peaked and it'll start going away fairly soon. Once we know where we're going, we'll be able to make a decision on when we can hold monthly meetings in Onehunga and also again in Cambridge. But in the meantime, we'll just have to sit with the online ones, I'm sorry. Same with the AGM. The committee made a decision that it wouldn't be very responsible if we called an AGM and exposed 60, 70 people to COVID. So once again, we'll just have to wait till COVID sort of sits down a bit and we know exactly where we're going. On the trips and tours front, the GVR, we're going to run the East-West Rail Tour. Unfortunately, due to COVID, this has been postponed, as have the steam trips that were being planned out of Hamilton in the next month or two. Hopefully we'll be able to run those again soon, but under COVID and seating arrangements, etc., it is just not viable, and we could risk exposing ourselves, our staff, our members, and the public to COVID. Also, the Ruapehu, the Discover Ruapehu trips, a schedule will be coming out very shortly, which will give the dates for the trips for the rest of this year. I'd just like to add there is a members special on those of $180 return. That's for the rail fare. So if you've got any inquiries, contact the necessary people at the GVR. Details are on the website and they'll be happy to help you. Email, phone, or whatever, or just put your booking in. That's the best way. Other trips we are planning, I'm planning a few coach trips to points of rail interest using a luxury air-conditioned, restroom-equipped coach from quite a reputable coach company in Auckland. These are just put on hold at the moment as well, thanks to COVID. And so are another couple of lunches that I've got on the planning stage at the Rose Park Hotel where people can mix and mingle, hopefully with another interesting guest speaker. At Glenbrook too, I forgot to mention that WW644 is coming along very well. The guys have had the locomotive in steam. She's being painted, put back together, and we hope to have it running very, very soon. Enjoy the program tonight, and we'll catch you next month. That's all from me, everyone.
After the success of the Dunedin Railway Station centenary in 2006, the Taieri Gorge Railway and Dunedin City Council set about planning a Rail Fans event for Labour Weekend 2009. This coincides with the 130th anniversary of the turning of the first sod at Wingatui in 1879 for the 231 kilometre long Otago Central Railway through to Cromwell. The Otago Central branched off from the South Island main trunk at Wingatui and ran to Cromwell through the townships of Middlemarch, Ranfurly, Omakau, Alexandra and Clyde. Though construction of the line started in June 1879, it took 42 years to reach its final terminus at Cromwell in 1921. The first trains were mixed trains, with the first passenger trains running from the 1st of August 1900 to the temporary terminus of the line as it slowly progressed towards Cromwell. Omakau was a major sheep loading station on the branch, where long stock trains took sheep and cattle to coastal farms for fattening or to freezing works in Dunedin. Wool was an important traffic on the line, as well as loadings of apricots and other seasonal fruits from Alexandra. Petrol for Central Otago and Queenstown came by rail to bulk storage facilities at Cromwell and Alexandra. On the 28th of February 1968, the line was fully dieselised after the introduction of the new Mitsubishi DJ class. The 21 kilometre long gorge section between Cromwell and Clyde was closed in April 1980 to allow for the construction of the Clyde Dam. Today, the rail bed sits deep under Lake Dunstan that formed behind the dam. Cement and steel for the construction of the hydro dam provided steady business for the railway 5 days a week. As the dam neared completion in 1988, rail traffic dwindled and goods trains were rescheduled to 3 a week. Even then, they were frequently cancelled for lack of tonnage, and it was clear that total closure of the line was unavoidable. Stan Rodger, the Minister of Railways, announced in December 1989 that the line would be closed from the 30th of April 1990. The Otago Excursion Train Trust organised a series of final railfan excursions over the branch during the weekend of the 28th of April. The Otago Excursion Train Trust was an ambitious idea that was started by two great Dunedin railfans, George Emerson and Arthur Rockworth. The Trust purchased a number of vintage wooden passenger carriages and ran their first excursion in 1979, with 2 cars attached to a goods train to Palmerston. A number of these carriages make up today's trains, but are progressively being replaced with refurbished 56-foot long vehicles that were always known as the bullet cars. And so, with 400 passengers on board, DJs 3499 and 3194 headed back to Dunedin with the last public excursion, bringing to a close operations on New Zealand's longest branch line. For a brief moment, there was word that the line might remain open to Alexandra, but by December 1990, the demolition crew began lifting the track. From Clyde to Middlemarch, the railway that had taken 16 years to build was gone forever in just 1 year. Isolated sections of track remained at Ranfurly and Hyde stations. However, the NZR retained the first 4 kilometres of the branch from Wingatui Junction in order to service the Taieri Industrial Estate's private sidings. The 64-kilometre long section from the Taieri Industrial Estate siding to Middlemarch was sold to the Dunedin City Council after the community raised $1.2 million to finance the project, and that included the purchase of the locomotives. The purchase enabled the Otago Excursion Train Trust to continue to operate their passenger excursions that had become a popular feature on the line since 1989. With its fleet of 6 DJ-class locomotives, the Taieri Gorge Railway is New Zealand's longest privately operated railway, running passenger trains 364 days of the year. Driver Graham Fay eases the train across Wingatui Viaduct, giving passengers plenty of opportunity to capture the scene. With no public road access, the Taieri Gorge is only accessible by train. The route originally chosen to Otago Central was frequently criticised for running through 64 kilometres of rugged, unproductive country before it reached any significant areas of productive land. Ironically, it's those same 64 kilometres that have survived as the Taieri Gorge Railway. Pukerangi is the destination for most Dunedin excursions. Passengers travelling on to Wanaka and Queenstown are met here by coaches. 19 kilometres further on, Middlemarch Station is the terminus of the Taieri Gorge Railway and retains the country station atmosphere with its turntable, goods shed, yards, water vat and station building. Here, cyclists unload their bikes from the train in anticipation of the rail trail. Beyond the end of the line is the old track formation forming the 150 kilometre long Otago Central Rail Trail. The track formation, including bridges and tunnels, was vested in the Department of Conservation in August 1993 and opened in November 1995 for use by hikers and cyclists through the central Otago landscape away from roads and traffic. And crossing the Poolburn Viaduct, the Otago Central Rail train is something to add to your bucket list. And so to Labour Weekend 2009 and the Middlemarch Rail Festival. After 18 months of planning, the first repositioning of locomotives and rolling stock began. Saturday the 10th of October dawned wet and cold as DG 772 left Christchurch's Middleton Yard on its way to Dunedin with Vulcan railcar RM56 in tow. Restricted to a sedate 50 kilometres an hour, as the train made its way south, the weather started to improve. The English electric-built 750 horsepower diesel electric had received a complete restoration and overhaul and been fitted with ditch lights, and that's now a requirement for heritage mainline operation. Approaching Timaru, where the support crew from Christchurch enjoyed a lunch break. At Oamaru, the Taieri Gorge Railway loco drivers took over from the Kiwi Rail crew. The climb out of Oamaru, up the Waireka bank, is a grade that often needed 2 engines during the steam era. A brief servicing stop at Palmerston Station, then climbing away past the old locomotive depot, a relic from the steam days that ended for the South Island in October 1971. DG 772 had travelled to Dunedin in April 1990 for the last Railfan photographer special to Alexandra, organised by the Rangatike Railfans group a week before the line was closed. The grade levelling out at Seacliff above the Pacific Ocean before dropping to Blueskin Bay at Waitati. Arrival at Dunedin Station after travelling 377 kilometres. After the departure of the Taieri Gorge Railway's morning service to Pukerangi, 1940-built railcar RM56 arrived at Dunedin Station for a driver's training run to Pukerangi. On board were 6 retired drivers and guards who'd worked the Vulcans over the Otago Central Railway, including Bruce Logan, who drove the final railcar service from Alexandra to Dunedin on Sunday, the 25th of April 1976.
Great send-off, and people were crowded everywhere along the track. You saw people perched up there waving there. It was a day that was lost to Central Otago.
Bob Reid, who retired from driving in 1982, enjoying the day out. Also, retired NZR guard Russell McHenry. A brief stop at Wingatui Station to check over the railcar. Russell Glendinning, of Kingston Flyer fame, relaxing with his morning newspaper. A photo opportunity over the Wingatui Viaduct, the Southern Hemisphere's largest wrought iron structure, at 197 metres long and standing 47 metres above the stream bed. The Vulcans provided a 6-day-a-week service between Dunedin and Alexandra for 20 years from 1956. At Hindon, a lunch stop, while waiting for the Dunedin-bound morning passenger service to arrive from Pukerangi. From 1903, Hindon was an important refreshment and train crossing station. It even had its own post office that operated until staff were withdrawn in 1969. Another photo opportunity at Flat Stream as the railcar heads through the notches. An afternoon tea break at Pukerangi before heading back to Dunedin with Russell Glendinning at the controls. A feature of the line is two combined road-rail bridges. This historic four-span bridge crosses the Taieri River at Hindon and was decked for road access to Lamb Hill Farm Station in 1997 when the original bridge required replacing. Rather than building a new road bridge at substantial cost to Dunedin City Council ratepayers, it was deemed more cost-effective to deck the bridge and build new road approaches at both ends. On Wednesday, the 21st of October, DG 772 and DJ 1209 transferred additional passenger cars and goods wagons to Middlemarch. From Dunedin Station down to Wingatui, the train travels over 13 kilometres of railway owned and managed by Kiwi Rail, the New Zealand government's state-owned enterprise. The Taieri Gorge Railway loco engineers are certified to operate trains over this state-owned section. In the consist, a car van from Ferrymead Railway, a carriage from Ocean Beach Railway, and two of the Taieri Gorge Railway's wooden turtleback passenger cars. Also in the train, a T-class cattle wagon from Ocean Beach Railway and the Taieri Gorge Railway's KP, MC and YD class four-wheelers. From Wingatui Junction, the line heads across the fertile Taieri Plain before climbing through a range of low hills to join the Taieri River in the lower gorge. Passing Pareda, once a crossing loop with a single New Zealand Railways house for the tablet porter to live in. Now it's a private holiday home, many kilometres from the nearest road. The intricate art of the stonemason's craft is dominant in the abutments and piers of Christmas Creek Viaduct. The creek was named by a Scottish miner who found gold in the creek on Christmas Day 1863. The locomotives notch up with a long continuous climb from Hindon to Pukerangi on grades that range between 1 in 50 and 1 in 150. The rails climb through the gorge for 29 kilometres, frequently crossing lattice girder bridges and viaducts and passing through 10 tunnels. Eventually, the line emerges from the gorge and follows a path through a rock-strewn landscape to flattish lands of the Strath Taieri Plain. The main rail activities of the Middlemarch Rail Festival took place over the remaining 19 kilometres of track from Pukerangi to Middlemarch. A photo opportunity for the train crew crossing Sutton Stream, the second road rail bridge on the line. Middlemarch was the base for a large gang in the 1960s who looked after the maintenance of the track and bridges. With the decline of traffic on the line, the station master's position was disestablished in 1980 and the track gang was eventually reduced to one part-timer. DJ 1209 was the last of its class in regular service on the national network, ending its days in Whangarei, hauling four-wheel log wagons over the Dargaville branch. The loco has been repainted in Southerner blue livery, a colour scheme that 7 of the class appeared in for hauling the Southerner passenger trains that ran daily between Christchurch and Invercargill. 1209 was the first of the class to be painted in the scheme in 1971. The Rock and Pillar Range dominates the horizon as the locomotives return to Dunedin over the Sutton Stream Road Rail Bridge. Crossing Silver Stream Creek on the Taieri Industrial Branch. Rail fans descended on Dunedin during Labour weekend to ride the trains to the Middlemarch Rail Festival. On Friday the 23rd of October, Vulcan railcar RM56 departed Dunedin for Middlemarch, packed out with rail fans who had booked seats months in advance. Travelling south from Picton to join the celebrations was Mainline Steam's 2009 New Zealand tour train, with rail fans from Great Britain, Australia and Europe. At Christchurch, JB 1236 was added to the train for the run to Dunedin. A great vantage point from the old state highway overbridge at Tumai. A photo run by on the grade from Merton, something that the overseas rail fans journey halfway around the world to experience. New Zealand has a number of features that make it one of the world's greatest countries to run heritage steam excursions. Truly spectacular scenery and operating conditions, a large number of mainline certified steam locomotives, the ability to provide photo run-bys, a cooperative railway management and a booming tourist industry. climb continues up the Puketeraki Hill to Seacliff. From Waitati, the line ascends from sea level to well above the Pacific coastline to Purakanui. Drifting along the causeway beside Otago Harbour, where AB hauled subbies once raced between Dunedin and Port Chalmers. On Saturday the 24th of October, mainline steam's JB 1236 ran a return day trip excursion through to Invercargill. Passing through the small settlement of Allenton. At the front of the consist were two of the Taieri Gorge Railway's recently refurbished 56-footer cars. During the 3 days of Labour weekend, mainline steam's AB 663 provided the morning service from Dunedin to Middlemarch with assistance from one of the Taieri Gorge's DJs on the rear. A favourite spot from many angles for photo opportunities, the road rail bridge at Hendon. A feature of the Taieri Gorge Railway excursions is that the train stops at 1 or 2 points en route to allow passengers to stretch their legs and capture those memorable shots. With everyone back on board, the excursion heads up the spectacular gorge. Meanwhile, RM56 has already made a couple of early morning runs between Middlemarch and Pukerangi. Ten Vulcans were built for New Zealand Railways, but one was lost on board a ship sunk by enemy action during